Hi, everyone. This is WABC Chief Meteorologist Lee Goldberg, and this is Weather or Not for the 25th of October, a Friday, where it's going to be the 26th straight dry day going back to the last day in September. A remarkable stretch. A little change in temperature. That's what we're going to be tracking over the next several days. A chilly morning, and it's going to be a seasonable afternoon. Actually super comfortable in terms of by October standards anyway, and kind of a classic October day to enjoy. But now that we're up to 25 days straight, and today will end up being 26, we're likely to actually pass 30 days as we go through next week. Now, this stretch of weather over the next 5 days is more seasonable. There'll be highs in the 50s and 60s. There'll be some weekend wind to contend with. So if you remember back to our weather on Thursday with the gusty breezes, figure that's going to be kind of a repeat on Saturday. Maybe a couple degrees cooler, but the winds get gusty. It may even gust over 35 miles an hour, and it still remains breezy into Sunday. So it's kind of a cool stretch into about Monday or Tuesday of next week, and then we start to see a warm-up. But right now, even though there's a front, a little disturbance that's coming through over the weekend, it doesn't look like it's going to bring measurable rainfall. So we have a very realistic shot of getting a rain-free October. And then talking about the warm-up, we'll get several days into the 70s, maybe even pushing 80 degrees by the time we get to Halloween. So a start to Friday is definitely chilly. You'll need a heavier fall jacket, especially north and west where we're in the 30s. We'll probably be in the mid-30s to even near freezing in Monticello. There is a frost advisory in Orange County. That'll take us until 9 o'clock in the morning. So a chilly start, but with bright sunny skies and not as much wind as we saw on Thursday, and seasonable temperatures in the lower 60s during the afternoon hours, maybe mid-60s across interior parts of New Jersey. It's just going to be a pleasant fall day as long as you're dressed for it and have the sunglasses too. There is a front coming through Friday night into Saturday, and there'll be some patchy clouds that come along with it. But our night Friday night won't be as chilly. We'll go through the 50s much of the night, and then by morning, we'll be in the 40s in many of our suburbs, and there will be a little bit of cloudiness around. See how similar it is to Thursday's weather. We start out with a little bit of cloudiness, we get sunny, it's windy, and we're in the mid, maybe upper 60s. And again, those winds, if we take a little snapshot of them, could be gusting over 30 miles an hour as we go into the afternoon hours, maybe even 35 miles an hour. So gets a little gusty and brisk on Saturday with a mixture of sunshine and patchy clouds. High pressure is getting closer on Sunday, especially in the morning. It's probably a little brisk, otherwise sunshine. Some high clouds coming over the top here, so it's a mix of sunshine and patchy clouds. On Monday, classic fall day again. We should be in the 50s both Saturday and Sunday and Monday for your high temperatures. And of course, that's when the Yanks are returning home for Game 3 of the World Series. So I would say first pitch is somewhere in the lower 50s. It looks like the wind is fairly light, which is good news. And then getting just a kind of classic October baseball chill as we go into the evening hours. Hopefully a little too chilly for the Dodgers. Well, the dry weather is the huge story. New drought monitor came out on Thursday, and no surprise that the moderate to severe drought is expanding. You can see severe drought covering a good portion of southern Monmouth County and most of Ocean County, and then you can see the severe drought, or at least moderate drought, expanding into northern New Jersey and much of the area under abnormally dry conditions. You can also see some extreme drought getting into parts of Mercer County as well. So this is a problem because we look over the next 7 to 10 days and I don't see any significant rainfall. So obviously the driest start to October on record. We've had a couple of days with a trace, the 9th and the 24th, and we'll be able to add this Friday, the 25th, yet another day, and we're running about 3.5 inches below average for the month. So now, coming up with 25, going on 26, by the end of the day, we'll be able to say that we are tied for the longest October dry stretch on record. And that's going back to 1869. So we'll likely surpass that as we go into the weekend, unless something that we don't expect, unexpected, happens on Saturday and you get a passing shower from that little disturbance. Again, no significant rain. Then when you just talk about longest dry stretches in general in New York City, we're in the 5th spot right now. So we'll climb up into a tie for the 4th spot of longest dry stretches. We're locked basically into getting into the 2nd spot. Whether we can go all the way to 36 dry days in a row, I can't tell that on the extended forecast just yet, but I can tell you I have no measurable rain forecast in the 7-day forecast. Since the beginning of September, we're over 6 inches below average. We've only had 1.5 inches of rain since the beginning of September. For the year, we're now running about a 2-inch deficit, and our reservoirs are running nearly 6.5% below average. Here's an encouraging sign. This is the first precipitation forecast by the Climate Prediction Center that has us nosing in on a signal of some above normal precipitation. And this is a little later in the first week of November. So we'll see if that pans out. Right now, I'm not seeing anything in the first few days of November other than some showers that may be passing through with the front, which could actually impact Marathon Sunday. But I don't see anything significant. So to get above normal, maybe there's something in that 5th to 7th period that may be coming through. Meanwhile, you can see in the short term, our rain chances into late next week look minimal. That means it's going to be dry for Halloween, and it looks really warm for Halloween. Now look at the steering winds. The core of the cool air, the cool pocket that we're getting over the weekend, will start leaving us Monday night into Tuesday, and then we've got a big ridge in the east. So we warm up through Halloween, which will probably be the warmest day of the stretch, may even last into Friday. Then it looks like the core of the next cool shot really stays to our north and west. But I was just looking at the depiction of what the surface might look like, and there might be a little bit more cloudiness, maybe a little passing shower around Marathon Sunday. So I think our temperatures will drop a little bit, and that'll be good news for runners because we don't want to see temperatures in the 70s, as gorgeous as it is. We want it to be more comfortable for the runners, ideally in the 50s, but more likely it'll be in the 60s. And I'll show you the early trends for temperatures that day. There is a decent amount of chilly air that's building over central Canada. So maybe once we get into the second week of November, we're trending a little closer to normal or below normal temperatures. But at least through the first week, you see the above normal signal in the east and the below normal signal in the west. So we're likely to be well above average. Now here's that 10-day trend I was going to tell you about. So we've got a couple of days in the 60s. Remember, it's rather brisk on Saturday with a fair amount of wind. Then we'll spend a couple of unusual days, a little below average, in the 50s, both Sunday and Monday. So there's Game 3 of the World Series. Once we get into Tuesday, we should be in the mid-60s, so back above average again. And then it's essentially, around Halloween, look at this, 70s, maybe even pushing 80 in a few spots on Halloween. So you won't need any coats with the costumes on Halloween, and it looks still really warm next Friday. Then we start to cool off, and I think that may be by way of a little bit more cloudiness. There might be a shower threat, but if we're talking about 64 on Sunday, maybe we're in the upper 50s or so, maybe around 60 at the start of the marathon. That's, of course, way out, but just looking at this overall trend, certainly doesn't look chilly, but hopefully it's at least a little cooler for the runners at the start out in Fort Wadsworth. We'll be covering that right here in Channel 7. By the way, talking about the sunset times, 6 o'clock sunsets, that's about to go by the wayside. By Halloween, 5:52 sunset, and we're only a week and a half away from sunsets before 5 o'clock, 4:49 on November 3rd. So November 2nd into 3rd is when we turn the clocks back and we go back to standard time. Checking out the tropics, nothing organized. That's what's left of Oscar going into the North Atlantic. And you can see, there are clusters of thunderstorms, but we're not seeing anything organized, any waves in the tropics. There is some indication that in the early days of November, there might be some areas of low pressure or spin that's over the Caribbean. So we'll watch that at that point, but nothing in the Gulf or threatening the East Coast at that point. But have to wait into deep November to really call everything off. In terms of the foliage, although we had that leaf stripping wind on Thursday, we still have some really gorgeous color north and west of New York City, north and west of I-287. And essentially that peak color is really ramping up quickly. I actually noticed kind of an explosion of more vibrant color in parts of lower Hudson Valley into northern New Jersey, just driving around over the last few days. So as we head into this upcoming weekend, even the nearby northwest suburbs should look beautiful. Moderate color along Island, Connecticut coast, down the shore, interior parts of Middlesex, Monmouth, and Ocean peak color. And even in New York City, the outer boroughs high color, while maybe, right in Midtown or in Central Park, it's more moderate to high color. But the colors are really popping as we close in on Marathon weekend. That's when it usually peaks in New York City. At least in Manhattan anyway. 47 degrees, 7 in the morning on your Friday. It is clear, it is calmer, and it's chilly, 33 to 43 in our suburbs. And what a gorgeous day. Abundant sunshine and lower 60s during the afternoon hours. We'll go for a high of 63, classic October day. Pair of 5s on your Friday night, so not as chilly if you're headed out for your Friday night plans. You'll notice that variable clouds at times and 40s in the suburbs. Here's your 7-day AccuWeather forecast. So if you wake up Saturday morning and you don't hear the breeze, or you walk out, oh, it's not as windy as I thought. Give it time. It'll get rather gusty. Could be gusting over 30 miles an hour in the afternoon hours. So just make sure you have the jacket. That day, clouds giving way to a mixture of sunshine and clouds, 64. On Sunday, breezy, especially in the morning, not as much in the afternoon, but still a cool breeze. And we're only in the 50s that day, and a pretty chilly night going down to 42. Of course, 30s in many suburbs. So it's just a classic October baseball day on Monday. It'll be in the mid-50s during the day, so figure first pitch is probably in the low 50s, around 50. And then once we get to Tuesday, we're in the mid-60s, a mixture of sunshine and clouds, even warmer on Wednesday. Now the Dodgers, unfortunately, might be feeling more at home in the low 70s. By the time we get to Halloween, you're talking about costumes, no coats, 77 degrees, maybe even pushing 80 over interior parts of New Jersey. And again, taking it a step further, you're looking at Friday in the 70s as well before a cool down into Marathon weekend. That's the way your forecast is shaping up. You can always get your weather information on ABC 7NY 24/7. Thanks for listening to Weather or Not. We'll see you next time, rain or shine.